Okay. Is this thing on? Somebody give me a comment so I can see if this is working. I am Jack West from Stephen Avery Project, Justice with Jax, MAM Gossip. Trying to go live today. My internet hasn't been working like all morning. And so my husband was just doing something to try and get me on here. So somebody comment so I know that people are here. Um, it's very windy here in Chicagoland. Yay, there's Bryce. Okay, so you hear me. Oh, I should get a pen and a paper. Unless Christopher can take notes for me. What I want to do with today is, and just so people know too, this is live. This is Saturday, the March 14th at 10:17 a.m. Chicago time. So we get a lot of people who watch these when they're not live, and then they pose questions in here thinking I'm live at that time, and I am not. So um, I just wanted to come live today, and people can ask me whatever or discuss whatever. And look at how dumb my hair is. I really hate this. My hair for the last several years, I had this all shaved due to menopause and being too warm. And then this winter, I've been letting it grow out, and now it's at this weird, I, and I can't get it. I hate it. Anyway, sorry, squirrel. Um, so today is just. Oh, thank you, Denise. Can I read better with these things off from that far away? Sorry. I'm so distracted today. Um, so you guys can pose any question you want to me and we can chat about it. But I want to start doing more live videos because I mean, I know I've covered so much over the years and we've got the videos are available. I upload like this video will also get uploaded in the next day or so to my Justice with Jax YouTube channel because Facebook only lets you have live videos up for 30 days and then they delete it. So they're all safe over on YouTube. So you can go to the Justice with Jax YouTube and go to the Stephen Avery folders or whatever they're called on YouTube to go watch the old videos we've done throughout the years. But I always say we get new people to Stephen's case every day who are watching Making a Murder for the first time. So they haven't listened to the jail calls or there's just so much. So what should we repeat and do new and fresh? So I want you all either in this live or you can message us here on Stephen Avery Project Facebook, or you can email me at officialstephenaveryproject@gmail.com, or if it's easier to remember, justicewithjax@gmail.com. And, what would you like me to focus on in a live video about the case? And that will give me and Christopher, time to research. Probably more Christopher. Christopher is my brain. Guessing is not confessing. Where is that? I all these stickers are supposed to be up here. I don't know where my stickers went. And now my thing is beeping, beeping, beeping. A supporter came up with that little catchphrase, guessing is not confessing. And I love that so, so much. And we made a sticker of it and then we sold it on. I had an Etsy store for a while, because people wanted to get those stickers. We've got a ton of stickers and I usually have them right up here. And now none of my stickers are up there. But guessing is not confessing because Brendan Dassey is so innocent. And if you watch his full interrogation, which is something, it's the Debbie show. Sorry, distraction. Um, we have covered that before where we have played his interrogation and talked about it. Oh, well, I'll have to give you some more stickers, Bryce. Um, but we could do that again. Where we play his interrogation and we listen and I pause when I want to comment or rant or whatever. So I want you help me help you. And Bryce says, press 4 to slap Barb, which is another sticker we have because it's another thing that in our live videos, I Debbie, was it you that did the Let's Slap Barb? It was one of the supporters that kept saying Let's Slap Barb, and so that became a sticker as well. I don't know where the frick I put those stickers. They were always right here. Whatever. So we have a Let's Slap. And then Cindy hits a 4. So, I do want to. I'm glad I'm able to get on here because I was like, oh, am I going to have to try and do a live from my phone? But I wanted to use my phone in this because I have an app on my phone and we have instructions on Stephen Avery Project and I believe it is pinned. So go to, the top and see the pinned comments and it gives you instructions on how to text message Stephen. So I have an app on my phone that I can text Stephen. It's called GTL Getting Out. So, and then you get stuff just like a text message. So I texted Stephen and I said, hey, Stephen, I wanted to let you know I mailed you the information that supporter sent me. And let me touch on that. I had made a post on here that a supporter came to me with research that they've been doing on the case. I'm not naming the supporter because maybe they don't want to be named. If they are on this live or at any point and they want to say who they are, they can. But so they were sending me information and I then sent that information to Kathleen Zellner. And Kathleen, all Kathleen responded to me with is received. So I don't know if what she thought of the information, if it's anything to be used or not. And my top priority is protecting Stephen's case. So I am not saying what that person told me because if it is anything that is of use to the defense, you don't want it to be out there publicly so the state could start doing whatever to counter that. So, and somebody said to me, I've seen a couple times where people are saying, well, why wouldn't you say it if it's something that could help Stephen? Because me just saying it on a Facebook page for people to hear is not necessarily the right thing to do. And so anytime somebody comes to me with possible evidence, I give it to Kathleen Zellner. And this person who came to me said that they reached out to Kathleen and had never heard anything back. And sometimes, not trying to sound like a name-dropping douchebag, but sometimes I have better access to Kathleen than someone else because I'm sure she gets a lot of emails because we here at Stephen Avery Project, we get a ton of Facebook messages that, sorry, but it's not anything of use, so poor Christopher is the one that goes through all of our messages. So there's a lot of stuff to try and wade through. So I'm sure things get missed. And we've had somebody come to us before that this is I believe this has been used, and I've said it before, but this is a person, and I think they're on this live right now, that saw Teresa's RAV4 at the turnaround, and that Bobby Dassey and Chuck Avery were with the vehicle. So we were able to put them in contact with Kathleen. So, and then I texted Steven and let him know. And this person was giving me a lot of uh, things that they've looked into. So it was a lot of back and forth that we were doing on Facebook Messenger. And so I texted Steven when that was going on to let him know that somebody was coming forward with research that had new stuff that I haven't heard before. And so Steven had called me, and so I told him about it, but you on the phone, you really kind of generalize because you're only on for 20 minutes, and this was a lot of stuff. So I told Steven what I would do is I would print out everything the person sent me and snail mail it to him. And that hopefully he gets it, because I know here in Illinois, the mail system to inmates is freaking horrible. So you can't guarantee what's going to happen. And yes, when you mail something to Steven, you're sending it to Maryland. It is not going to his prison in Wisconsin. It gets mailed to whatever that place is, and then they scan it and then upload it, and then it gets electronically sent to Steven. He will not get your actual handwritten letter or your pictures or whatever. So it really sucks. So I printed all those out. I mean, it was like 15 pages. It was a lot. And so I texted him the day that I mailed it and said, "Hey, Steven, I wanted to let you know I mailed you the information that supporter sent me. Hopefully you get it. I'm going to do a Facebook Live on Saturday morning. So if there is anything you want me to tell your supporters, let me know. Hope you're doing okay, and let me know if there is anything you need." I always ask all the inmates that I speak to. Currently, I speak with now Steven again. So Steven, and then there's Melissa Kaluzinski and Marnie Yang. You can see both of their names behind me, Melissa Kaluzinski and Marnie Yang. And every time I talk to them, I always ask them, is there anything you need? And I don't know if it can't be a typical inmate thing, I wouldn't think, but it is the three that I talk to. And I used to talk to another guy, and he as well. They're always like, no, I'm good. They're not taking advantage, and Steven's like, and I've teased him about this in the past, Steven's like famous, right? And, so Steven's got a ton of supporters, who would do anything for him, I'm sure. And so if he's like, yeah, I want you to put $100 on my commissary or what, and he never does that, ever. I don't think Steven has ever asked me for money. Now, I have put money on his commissary before, but I don't believe he's ever asked me for it. Um, Marnie has asked me for things like helping her kids on the outside. And like I drive her dad down to the prison to go visit her because he's old and not in good health and he can't do that drive himself. But she never asks me for money. And then Melissa, she never asks me for money. She asks me for like I buy her cards because she likes to send cards to her supporters. So she'll tell me when she's low on cards, and she'll tell me, can you get me some blank cards, or can you get me, if it's a holiday. So she'll be asking me for Easter cards or whatever. And so I have to order them from a company and have that company send it directly to the prison. Stephen, like even when I used to visit Stephen in prison, and and the big deal on a visit is you're buying them food out of those vending machines that, it's food that they don't typically get or whatever. And Steven's like, no, I'm good, and I barely would get him anything. So, they, I always ask. I'm happy to do whatever I can to help them, but they don't really ever ask for money. Um, so Steven emailed or texted me, whatever you want to call this app. It's like a text, right? So text. So it literally came in at 8:43 a.m. my time. So 15, wait, no, not 15 minutes. So an hour and 15 minutes before I was scheduled to go live, but I was trying to get internet. And he says, here you can say that and he's got this all in capitals, state is afraid. Can you see that? I don't know if it got all blurry on there. The state is afraid to give me a new trial because they set me up. And they knew that. That's why they don't want me in court now. And then he said, thank you for trying for me. So, see, he doesn't even address me saying, hey, is there something you need? He just totally skips that. So Stephen wanted me to put out the state is afraid to give him a new trial because they set him up, which we know the corruption is sickening. And I don't it's not just a Wisconsin thing. A lot of people will talk about Manitowoc, and yeah, Manitowoc is scary because look what they've done to Stephen. But the two girls that I advocate for, they're here in Illinois. There is this corruption all over the place. What our system is so horrible, horrible that it's so easy to lock an innocent person up and quick to lock them up. And then I always forget this number. What does Kathleen say? It's like 15, it's between 15 and 17 years for her to overturn a wrongful conviction. And while Stephen has been incarcerated since 2005, Kathleen has only been with the case since January of 2016. So it has not been the 15, Kathleen has not had the case for 15 years. And one of our biggest questions we always get is, where is Kathleen? She's not doing anything. Is Kathleen still with the case? Kathleen Zellner is with this case to the end, however long it takes, unless, really, if Stephen was to get rid of her. She's with this case, period. And the system sucks. So that's how we'll go months without you hearing a peep. So nothing is going on publicly with the case, but none of us, even Stephen, won't know exactly what it is that Kathleen's staff is doing with this case. We don't know because she can't even tell Stephen everything that she's doing, because we know that there were times that Buting was talking to Stephen, and that Buting was even in the room talking to Stephen as his attorney, and that's attorney-client privilege. They are not allowed to monitor that. And they did. There's proof of that they were watching, filming Buting talking to his client, Stephen. So the only really, I think, safe place for an inmate to talk to somebody is in the visitor's room. Now, I've never visited Stephen in Lake Correctional where he is now. I only visited him in Waupun. And I saw somebody ask, and thank you, Bryce, for answering people's questions, because I see them go, and if I pop to squirrel that, then I forget what I'm saying here. So thank you, Bryce, for answering people. Um, somebody asked if I will be visiting Steven soon. I don't think that I will be added to his visitors list at any point, and I am fine with that. Um, they limit the amount of people that can be on a list. And so he told me in our last phone call, and I did make a post after that call, that he said that he is hopeful that he is going to get a visit with his dad soon, and that he had to take somebody off his visitors list to put his brother Chuck on, because it would be his brother Chuck that would take their dad to visit him. So I don't know where that stands now, because I talked to Steven a week ago. So I don't know if there's any development on that. But so I can only speak to the prisons that I have visited. So that was Stephen at Waupun. And then I visit Melissa and Marnie in Logan Correctional here in Illinois. And then I used to visit this guy, Kent, in Taylorville in Illinois. And all of those visitors' rooms, I don't even know if there's cameras in Logan Correctional Visitors Room. I've never seen a camera in there. And, and there's no microphones or whatever. So that is the only place that Melissa can speak freely to me that it's not being monitored on what she wants to tell me. And don't get me wrong, we're not sitting there when I visit Melissa, we're not talking about her case. I mean, sometimes we do, but I try to keep it when I talk to people, I don't want to keep rehashing their case, because, they're living it every day. I want to give them a little moment of forgetting or thinking about other things, and I want to make them laugh and I want to make them feel good. But for Melissa also, it's a lot of the horrible stuff that's going on in the prison, and you can get punished for outing the prison. And there are times where Melissa will tell me something that she then wants me to report. So, and I know you guys, a lot of people, when I talk about the other cases, are like, this isn't about Steven. Well, in Melissa's case, she is also represented by Kathleen Zellner. She's been represented with Kathleen before Steven. And she's a sweet, sweet girl. And I should do a live to talk about what I have going on with Melissa, because I've got some developments with that. But I won't bring it up here. Guess you'll have to wait. So I'll get distracted with Veronica's question. Are you helping in Brendan Dassey? God, this is blurry with these glasses on or off. And these glasses used to work well for me. Brendan, that's such a sad story. When I first got involved in the case, I actually was more with Brendan Nope, these don't help, aren't any better either. I was more with Brendan than with Stephen. When I first got involved in this case, Stephen Avery project already existed. Somebody else started this page like the week after Making a Murderer came out in December of 2015. And so I actually at that time got involved where and I haven't updated it in forever, but I partnered up with somebody else and they own that page. And I know there's people when I use the word own and they're like, you don't own a Facebook page, it's Facebook. But whatever, I don't know what run whatever. So I partnered with this guy who he is the husband of somebody I went to school with from grade school on up, and she grew up behind me, and we're Facebook friends. And so I knew from her posts that her husband did a lot with the I see I have like early onset. There's her name because I had to look for a book. The Amanda Knox case. So I know he did a ton of stuff on the Amanda Knox case, including going to Italy on her case. And so when I first got involved in this case, one of the first things I was doing is Wiegert and what's the other one's name? See? My brain. Wiegert and let's go. Bryce. Somebody. What's the other piece of shit's name? Were doing they were going to be doing an event at a place a town over from me. And I'm like, there you go, fact bender. Because I know it's Ligert, and there was something else that people had turned it into. Fact bender, fast bender. Yep. Okay. So I scheduled, organized then a protest against it. And I had never done a protest ever. Now I've organized so many protests, I can't even tell you how many. And I had no clue what I was doing. So I had reached out to Helen to say, hey, I know your husband's been involved in that Amanda Knox case. And at that time, too, I didn't know much about the Amanda Knox case. Now I've even met her and she's lovely. And she has advocated for Melissa, and she and Melissa have written letters to each other, too. Um, and Amanda has asked Melissa to be on her podcast. But so I'm like, I'm doing this protest and I don't know what I'm doing. And I know your husband's been involved in wrongful convictions and he's got this whole wrongful conviction group or whatever, ass bender. Um, so, could I like talk to him to figure out what I'm supposed to do? And then from that, and it's blanking on me too, what his organization is called. Um, but that group wanted to take on Brendan's case, as they do research and all that. And so they started the page that's called Free Brendan. And so, and I haven't even been on the Free Brendan page in a year, maybe more. And so I am a admin on that page, and I was the only one that updated it and did posts. I used to do live videos on there. Oh gosh, I don't think I went through Free Brendan to go upload and get videos off there before they'd be deleted. Crap. So I was with Brendan deeper than I was with Stephen. The guy who was running Stephen Avery project, he was like the number one advocate for Stephen. He was visiting Stephen. He was all out there in the press, everything. And I was more focused on Brendan. And um Han, I have told Bryce if he wanted to be a moderator here, I would add him as a moderator. Um, Bryce goes with me when I take field trips to Manitowoc. Sometimes you can catch a glimpse of him in the videos, but he likes to be silent but deadly. Bryce actually lives here in Illinois, and he's down south. He's closer to the prison. So Bryce like to be in the shadows. Um, so there's times when I've been down, going to the prison, or if I need to go to Springfield because I work in politics, and so there's times I have to go down to our capital. Bryce and I meet up. And Bryce has been with this case, I think, just as long as I have. So Bryce, I would gladly add him as a moderator, but he he does find out more in the shadows too. That's true. Yeah. So anyway, okay, back to what I was saying. And Bryce will continue answering questions, and Christopher is here too. So if you see anything that says it's by Stephen Avery Project, that's Christopher, as he just put up a thing for my book. Um, so Christopher does a ton for this page and for me personally. Um, so these two boys, and yes, they're boys because I'm old and they're young. These two boys, love these boys. So thank you, Christopher and Bryce. Um, so um, I got friendly with the family. I got friendly with Barb. Let me see if I can even do this right now. I have a matching tattoo with Barb. Where do I have to go for you to try and see it? See? Oop, oop, oop. Kind of. So this was the logo that my husband created for Brendan. So what does it even say on the top? So 8, I can't even read that. Something 16. We got these tattoos when Brendan's conviction was overturned and we thought he was going to go home. So the top of this is Justice for Brendan. This is the dragonfly that my husband made. And then down here it says freebrendandassey.org. I don't even know if that website exists anymore. And then when that conviction was overturned, I hope you can still hear me. Brendan would then he started signing his letters to people, the complete and innocent. And that's what the bottom says. So mine's a little different than Barb's. I think Barb's just this, and then you've got Brendan's initials. I've got other stuff added to it. So, and so I used to be a moderator for Barb's page for Brendan. And I used to, Brendan and I would write letters back and forth, and then Brendan and I started talking on the phone. Thank you, Ronica. And then it was so funny. It was like a Friday. It was a Friday night that Barb called me wanting to give me what she said was good news. And it was that Barb had given permission for me to be added to his visitors list. And so that was exciting that I was being added to Brendan's visitors list, because in order to get to Brendan, you have to go through Barb. And by the end of the weekend, I was kicked out, and then everything went crazy. There's been a lot of drama over the years, and I know Christopher already posted a link to my book. My shameless plug for my book, Wrongfully Abused: Making an Advocate for Stephen Avery. And so I talk in here about that. We've never done lives of me reading the book, because the book's been out for so long now, that I could do a live reading the book. But since I had just talked about something, in the acknowledgments, I'm not reading all of the acknowledgments, but I just want to read these ones. Uh, these ones? Is that correct grammar? I don't know. Um, Thank you to my admin, Christopher, who runs all my pages and sometimes gets on me to get back on track when I just get lazy. Christopher does most of the hard work and deals with all day to day stuff while I watch Netflix and chill. This was also, I think I wrote this when I wasn't working full time. He is my biggest cheerleader, and I really appreciate. I also want to thank a couple of my longtime followers. Miley. Miley's my sexy girlfriend, and she works a lot. She's probably not on here, uh, on this live right now. Miley and Bryce. Miley, who I call my sexy girlfriend, has been there for me for years. Bryce always brings a smile to my face, and I enjoyed being his tour guide of all the sights in Manitowoc. There are oh so many people who are part of my story, and I wish I could name you all, but know that I typo in the book, but know that I truly appreciative. So it should have said that I am truly appreciative of each one of you. So I thank them in my book. Um, so um, things went bad between Barb and I. Um, Basically, it was jealousy. It was really weird because it was me and so there were three of us. Um, and so all three of us have this tattoo. And so me and this other girl got really close at that time. Like we referred to each other, we were Thelma and Louise. And she got super close with Brendan because she has a son around Brendan's age who is on the spectrum. And so like she was on the visitors list, and like she would take her kids in there to visit with Brendan. And I know this girl truly loved Brendan. And she also got close with Barb. And the thing with the Averys is, they're all kind of odd, right? And they don't really have friends. Um, and this case made them popular. Yes, I love Wicked. I could show you that tattoo now. I'm currently getting a Wicked sleeve on my leg. Um, so Barb and this woman got super close, and the girl at that time lived in Michigan. And for her to go to Wisconsin, um, and not take a boat across the lake, she's got to drive. You can't see there. She's got to drive, in a circle to go around the lake and get up to Wisconsin. So here I am, she's up here, and then you go and stop. So I basically like the halfway point to go to Brendan's prison. So she would come to my house and stay at my house for a night and then go to the prison, to break that up. And I even went with her once, and it's in the book. I wasn't on the visitors list, but I just went with her on the drive, because it's still stuff for her to catch up on. And Barb had called us too when we were in the car. And so it was on speakerphone, and the two of us talking to Barb. And that was an interesting conversation because Barb was saying to us that she wanted to leave Scott. But maybe I should save that for another book. Or maybe it's in this book. I don't even remember what's in this book, Cindy. So yeah, maybe I should read it with you all. Schedule a live and we start reading my book. And what happened is Barb got so jealous of me and this girl hanging out together. But like every time this girl came down to my house, I would invite Barb and Scott. It's so funny too. Like when I look in my Facebook memories, and I'll see where it's stuff of me and Scott talking back and forth on posts that I make tagging him, talking with Scott. Barb and Scott were like afraid to come here, um, because I'm not in the city of Chicago. I am in a western suburb, but to them still it's like scary, and they, didn't want to drive here. Um, Other people from the Avery family have come to my house. Um, and I've been to Barb's house and so on. But and the person also became really, really attached to Brendan, that she was very motherly to him. And there was this other supporter who also was like getting close to Brendan. And so uh, while Barb was jealous of this girl was jealous of the other girl that was visiting Brendan. And she inmates are only allowed X amount of visits, and there's always this math that's it can only be this many times in a week or whatever. I never recalled the formula, so that's why Melissa's the only one I visit, and I've been visiting Melissa for 10 years. Um I go on weekdays because her parents can only go on the weekend, and me and her parents are the only ones that visit her. And so me going on a weekday does not interfere with whatever weekend they're going to go to. But I still try to plan it that the weekday that I go is not the same week her parents are there. So it's, staggered. But now my job has really made it hard for me to go. When I didn't have a job, I was visiting Melissa twice a month. Um, but now it's been over a month since I visited her, so I may have to start going on a weekend. Um, but anyway, um, so and both of these women that were visiting with uh Brendan did not um live in Wisconsin. So it's a big ordeal. And for the one that I was friends with, she was in Michigan. The other one was coming from somewhere in southeast. I can't remember where it was, but that woman's getting a plane, and so there's a lot to it for these people to go visit. And so the one that I knew was all upset at the possibility of um her going to visit Brendan and then not being able to get in because that other girl had just seen him or something. And so she made the comment to somebody else who was a moderator, because um, we were all moderators. So this was somebody that she thought she was close to. And so she made the comment to her, just being a bitch and angry. She said if she smurfs up my visit with Brendan, I'll cut her. Is she really gonna cut this girl? No. She was just being territorial and mama bear and mad. And she's not saying it publicly. She's not saying anything to that person. She's saying it to a co moderator who, those two were moderators of Brendan's group before I was added. So those two knew each other longer. But they've never met in person and would never meet in person because that other girl lives in Australia. Um, and so then that girl used that information to turn Barb against that girl. All this jealousy and stupidity. It really is stupid. And so then Barb used that as the excuse to kick that girl out. Well, and those two will disagree with how they left. One one will say that they removed her and kicked her out, and the other one says I left. Um, I don't know, but it got all ugly. Hi, Mandy, and I got stuck in the crossfire. And since I was friends with that girl at the time, and I thought this reasoning was stupid, saying I'll cut her to the other moderator in private, and they tried to use a you can't threaten supporters, blah blah blah, and it's like she didn't. It's so dumb. And so then I got a nasty letter from Brendan. Um is it in my book? I might have put the letter in my book. I'm excited. I'm excited. This squirrel, this is a friend of mine. Her son and her son's girlfriend does roller derby, and then her son refs it. And I'm like, oh my god, I've totally missed my calling. I totally should have been a roller derby girl. And so I'm like, I would go. So I guess there's um sorry, are you going? Because there's a game at 5:30. Hold on, let me ask Jeff. Sorry, distracted. Oh my god, going to roller derby tonight. That'd be so exciting and fun. Um, okay. What was I saying now? Oh, um, so I got a nasty letter from Brendan on that he's never going to talk to me again. Um, and I might have put it in the book, and I have it somewhere. So I guess if we, do a live on, uh, do it on Brendan, um, I would have the letter and read it to you. Or no, if it's in the book, we'll discuss it there if it's in my book. Um, and I am not mad at Brendan for that, and don't blame. Oh my God, Polly plays roller derby. What's your name? I love the names. Um, what would be my roller derby name? Bryce, Christopher. What would be my roller derby name? And I don't know if my husband's only downstairs, but there's times when I do live videos and he watches. So Jeff, if you happen to be watching this, tell me if you want to go to roller derby tonight. Um anyway, so I don't blame Brendan. Brendan vagina bat. Ha! Oh, that's another story related to Stephen's case. Um um Sorry, I'm getting distracted by vagina bataram. Pure Polly. Love it. Um, so I don't blame Brendan because Jack's the destroyer. Um, because he loves his mom and he's gonna listen to his mom. And um, so I'm not mad at Brendan. If Brendan ever reached out to me, I would respond. Um, if Brendan wanted to talk to me, I would talk to him. If he wanted me not to talk about how his brother and his now stepfather are involved, um, in my opinion, in science's opinion, in facts' opinion, um, I could, we could keep it light because, like I said, I don't want to sit there and harsh on bad things in the 20-minute phone call they get to have. Um, so I do believe Brendan is innocent. I do not believe that he knew that Bobby did it and that everything Brendan said, you just have to swap out Stephen for Bobby. Um, Brendan is a sweet, sweet boy, and that kid could not live with himself if he was a part of or witnessed somebody being murdered. He can't harm a fly. So, Brendan is innocent. Now, Stephen is angry with Brendan because Stephen wouldn't be in prison if not for Brendan's false confession. And I know they didn't use Brendan in Stephen's case, but the jury pool and everything is already tainted. And they absolutely knew the Brendan stuff. So I feel for Brendan. But I also understand Stephen's anger towards Brendan. You have to remember Stephen has a lower IQ than Brendan. So, and just put yourself in Stephen's shoes. Stephen told everybody to shut up. Don't talk to anybody. And they did. So, I support Brendan's innocence. Now, this is Stephen Avery project, so our main focus is Stephen, and Stephen wants this page to be only about Stephen, not about Brendan, and I get it. So, but I firmly believe both Stephen and Brendan are innocent. So, back to the reason for doing this live is because I know people come in late or whatever. I want you to message this page, put in the comments. It's easier if you message the page though, because sometimes comments get lost and hard for us to get them. We do try to, I say we, it's the royal we, meaning Christopher, but there are times I do it as well, because we will have to go through these comments because we will get guilters who will put comments on here. And so let me state again that this is a supporter page. We do not have any guilter talk here. People will attack me saying I'm taking away their freedom of speech. No, I'm not. It's Facebook. Get over yourself. There's plenty of other Facebook pages out there that if you believe these boys are guilty, that you can go to any of those pages and talk all the smurf that you want. We will delete any guilter comments here and you will be banned. I'm not going to debate the issue with you. Facts are the facts. They are innocent. So, guilter comments will be deleted and banned. But, so message this page or email me at either official Stephen Avery Project at Gmail or justicewithjax at Gmail for what live videos would you like me to do. I guess from here, though, the first one we should probably do is covering my book, Wrongfully Abused, Making an Advocate for Stephen Avery. It is self-published on Amazon. So Amazon is the only place you can get this book. So, why do I have a page marked in this book? What is this page marked for? Oh, the read technique. So, and the reason I did the live today, like I said, it's hard for me with having my full-time job. And if I do, a lot of times I've done live videos, if I do them on the weekdays, it's 6 p.m. here, Chicago time. But for around the world, that's not a great time for other countries to be able to be on. So the compromise that I was told by ChatGPT is 9 a.m. my time is a good time to go live for the best access around the world. So I did it. Oh, thanks, Denise. Um, so I did it at 10 a.m. because I wanted to be lazy and not be up as early. So I would probably schedule the next live. It would also be on a Saturday at the same time this one was. And then what we would do is we would just read an hour at a time. And so, however far I get in an hour, depending on where I am in a chapter or talking about it. So, I think I might be free next weekend. But I'll look at that, and so we'll schedule the first live videos we do will be covering my book, since I've never done that. But also in the meantime, you guys could be sending us what other things you would like me to focus on. It doesn't have to be something like, I mean, I've done things like I've read Ken Kratz's book to you guys, so because I didn't want any of you to buy it, and somebody provided me a free copy, so it's like, I'll read it to you, so he makes no money, and that then I read his book and rip it apart. So we can do that now. So um so send me what things you would like me to cover. Like, we could have a live where we're just talking about the blood vial, which we would have to do that. I've done this in videos before to explain this blood vial that I have sitting here by my computer. And so then that way, oh, the Netherlands. Actually, now see, squirrel. I was just tabling an event last night, and somebody who was tabling with me travels a whole lot for both work and pleasure, and asked her what is her favorite place she's ever been, and she said the Netherlands. She said she has never been anywhere more beautiful. Just saying. So send me what other lives you want me to cover, and then that gives Christopher and I, mostly Christopher, time to research it, and then Christopher will tell me what I'm going to say. But our next one will cover my book. So until then, you can, if you want, buy the book, read it, and then we'll go over it together bit by bit, and then I'll be able to go more in depth on what I want to say. And when did this book come out? 2022. So time has passed and things have changed. Do you believe the blood was the source of blood in Avery, Carr, and Halbach Carr? Veronica. That's like the only thing I disagree with Kathleen Zellner on. That she talks about thinking the blood came from Stephen's sink, and that Bobby did that. I do not. I do now. If that was what happened, I wouldn't go, oh, I'm shocked by it. But I do think more likely blood came from blood vial. And I have talked about before the hole on the top of the vial. And let me just say to you, I can't remember what year my husband did this. This is the same vial that they used, and I took video of when my husband took his own blood and put it in this vial, which now I don't know if you can even see because the camera gets all fuzzy. It's all dried up in there. But when my husband first did it, and I have pictures of it, the pictures are posted too, you saw distinct hole in this rubber stopper. But now, however many years later, there's no hole. You don't see a pronounced hole. So when you watched Making a Murderer, they had that big aha moment of, look, there's a hole on here. So that means they had to whatever. And then it got dismissed as, well, that's how they take the blood, so there's going to be the hole. So nobody's ever thought twice about it again. They're like, oh, the the hole's there from the needle when they take the blood. But now, here it is years later that my husband did this one and the hole is gone. So therefore, when Buting opens that and sees there's a hole on there, somebody had to have put a needle in there recently. So that's my theory. Kathleen has never used that theory. I don't know if I've ever sent it to her. I don't know. Maybe I should, just in case, because that's what I tell you all. Always send stuff to Kathleen. You know, you can't assume. People have said that to her, but I'm convinced they did something with that blood vial because there's no hole on the top of this. And my husband did this however many years ago. And that vial was stored at the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department, that they had total access to it. So I do not believe that Manitowoc did something to Teresa Halbach, but I believe Manitowoc planted the RAV. Well, no. I thought they did the RAV4, but now we have the witness that saw Bobby and somebody else pushing it back. So, okay, I do not believe that they planted the RAV4, but I do believe law enforcement planted the blood, and they planted the key and the magic bullet. And I swear, you don't have to believe me, but I am not a wacky conspiracy theorist. I do not believe there are two RAV4s. I think that in one light the RAV looks blue and in one light it looks green. So I am not calling out that there has to be two RAVs because this statement said blue and this statement said green. It was called Mystic Teal, I believe, is the official name of that color. So I do not believe there were two RAV4s. If it came out, just like I said about Bobby planting the blood, if it came out if you could show me something factual that there were two RAVs, I'd be like, okay, yeah, there's two RAVs. But I do not believe there are two RAVs. But I do believe law enforcement planted stuff. The bullet, the key, and the blood. And I am going by science and facts. If somebody gave me evidence to show me that Stephen was guilty, I would say Stephen is guilty. It does no benefit to me to be here championing for Stephen. My book, it's like every book that sells, and there hasn't been a whole lot of books that sold, okay? Being honest here. I get like 13 cents. Amazon takes it all. I get nothing. I've made probably under $200 on this book. So I'm not getting rich off this case. But I go by facts. And I have been, a lot of horrible stuff has happened to me in being a part of this case. They've attacked me, they've attacked my husband. Um, so um, it would be better for me to be a guilter, or to just walk away from this case altogether and just go on with my life. But I feel strongly that what was done to Stephen and Brendan is just unbelievably wrong. And so that's why I'm here, by facts. Um, I want to go up to somebody asking, how do you explain Colborn suiting the RAV? You hear someone say the car here. Um, yeah, that is Colborn, and Colborn was looking at the RAV when he said that. So, and that's why this whole thing, it's hard, because we have multiple witnesses that saw that RAV4 at the turnaround. We have people who said and have proof, witness, that they reported it to Colborn at the Senex station that is just a couple blocks away from that turnaround. Um, so here's what I always believed. He then went to the turnaround, saw the RAV4, and called it in. And then I believe that Teresa Halbach's brother, her ex-boyfriend, and her roommate with benefits, because she was having sex with that guy. And that I'm not ripping on the victim. Because she was a single girl, have sex with whoever you want. You do you, girl. No judgment whatsoever. But I say that so you know that these people are close. I believe the deputies went to Teresa's, and that's where they got her day planner. My friend said, tell Jeff if he comes, I'll buy him a beer. Um, and holy cow, how much is beer going to cost at this event? You know, they charge you so much for that stuff. Anyway, so I think the deputies went to the house. They got the day planner that was later found in the RAV4. And they got her spare key. See, you guys, I was like wrapping this up to try and make this only an hour, and then see, we twist and turn here that can bring me into so many different subjects on here. But at that time when it was happening, I do not blame those boys, because what I believe is they were told that a guilty man was going to get away with murdering their loved one due to the case that was currently happening for them wrongfully putting Stephen in prison for 18 years for the Penny Bernstein case. Who's to say I wouldn't do the same thing? You know, something happened to somebody I care about, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get whoever did it to him, I think. You don't know. You don't know until you're in that situation. But I do blame them now. Because now there's so much evidence out there to show you that Stephen didn't do it. So they should go to Kathleen Zellner. And I'm sure Kathleen Zellner would be able to get them some kind of immunity or whatever, that nothing negative would happen to them if they were to come forward now and go, look, Yeah, we did. We gave them that key because there is no way that magic key that was found in Steven's bedroom by Link, who wasn't even supposed to be in there, um, that's not Teresa's key that she used. It had none of her DNA on it. And for somebody who basically drives for a living, driving around to go take pictures at different places, that key's going in and out of her hand, her DNA would be on there. Um, and also, we know from her own people that testified, her friend that she had been on vacation with the August prior to this happening, that she was constantly losing keys, being afraid of losing keys. And so that's why her sister had gotten her the lanyard. Um, and so the friends said while they were camping, she had made her, I think it was like out of tape or something, a lanyard for a key. Um, so somebody who is afraid of losing their keys is not going to just have their key. Where's her house key? Where's the key to the photography studio? Where are those keys? This is not the key that. Does the key. Should her key have had like a door opening on it? Have we ever looked into that? I don't remember if the RAV4 that year would have a key that looked like that, or no, if that was too early that she would have to physically unlock it. But regardless, you can tell by the shape of the key that was found that is the valet key or whatever you call it. So I believe they got that key and the day planner, and then also that's when what's his face, Ryan Hillgas, who now goes by Ryan Hill, trying to hide, um, got into her cell phone account and stuff. Um, so when Colborne is calling in that car, he is absolutely looking at it. So is he looking at it at the turnaround, and then cops are the ones that moved it over, or was he at the salvage yard looking at it, and they still needed a key or wanted the key to open it, not to jimmy it. So they could have been using it at the salvage yard. Because especially back when this all happened, it's so easy to get into the salvage yard and nobody would know you were there. You go in through the quarry behind it. And there was a definite road. When I first went there my first time going to Manitowoc was January of 2016. And we drove through the gravel pit. I know you're not supposed to, but we did. And there's a road that went right into the salvage yard. And also, when I first started going to Manitowoc, that's when I was friends with the family. So I have videos of when I was with the family, and we literally walked the path that Teresa Halbach had walked, and we timed it. So I've done lots of research on this case. Everything shows Stephen and Brendan's innocence, in my opinion. So I am going to wrap this up now. Next live, we'll start reading my book. So you can get my book on Amazon and read it, and then we'll start going over it 1 hour at a time. Yeah, see, we can do a whole thing, a live just talking about the RAV4. We can do a whole live talking about the blood vial. We can do a whole live talking about the key. We can do a whole live talking about the bullet. We can go piece by piece by piece on this case. There is so much. Veronica, yes, there is a whole lot that was missed in Making a Murderer. And people will say, supporters, we are swayed by a documentary that didn't show you everything. Right, they didn't show you everything. There's no way they can show you everything. And the more you dive into it, the more you find innocence, not guilt. So it wasn't a slanted documentary because the documentarians don't care either. You know, they're following this case wherever it turned. And I'm sure I talk about it in here, but when I first watched Making a Murderer, because I watched it the weekend it came out, I just came upon it on accident. It was December, and my we had a big snowstorm, and my husband was out plowing, and so I'm stuck in the house. And so I liked true crime, so I'm like, I'm gonna watch this. And so I watched the first episode, and the first episode seems to tie it all up. It's the Penny Bernstein, so it's over. And so then it's going into episode two. And I'm assuming episode two is going to be a totally different case. That each of these 10 episodes would be a different case. And then it's like, this is still talking about Stephen Avery. And it's called Making a Murderer. I'm like, oh my God, did he now kill somebody because of what happened to him there? So I was, totally into it, thinking that's where it was going to lead. And it didn't. And I ended up binging the whole thing at one time. I couldn't stop watching it. And then when my poor husband got home from plowing after being out for so many hours, I'm like, you have to watch this. And so the next, I think maybe he slept a little bit. And then when he got up or whatever, then I played it for him and we binged it. And so I watched the whole thing for a second time all the way through. And then I fell down the rabbit hole, finding all the evidence I could. And then, so that's mid-December. And this happened in Wisconsin. I'm just in Illinois. And so in January, we took our very first trip to Manitowoc. And so I have been to Manitowoc at least 10 times because I go once a year. Yep. Shout out to Jeff for being the driver. One time Bryce and I went alone, but then a couple other times, the last two times we've gone, Bryce and I have gone, my husband's a driver, and then Bryce and I can just hop out and do video, take pictures, whatever. So thank you, Jeff, for being my driver. All right, calling this to a close. Stay tuned to Stephen Avery Project for when Christopher and I decide what day we'll do the next live, and he will make an event. So you can RSVP to that, and so you can get reminders of when we're going live. And if something, and the snack, yeah. If something happens in Stephen's case, breaking news, we go live. If you see something on any other page or in the news or whatever that pertains to Stephen's case and it's not posted here, please let us know. You may catch it before we do, so we can get it posted. And then I try to, especially when I'm at work, if there's any kind of breaking news, Christopher will get something posted. And then when I get home from work, I will do a live. So we try to give you a heads up if we can. But if something is happening that quickly, we'll just break in. So you have to kind of stay tuned to Stephen Avery Project to find out if there's any new news. We also have the closed group that's called MAM Gossip. We started that page for that's where I could put stuff that maybe I didn't want to go public with. But now there's so many spies that are in there with fake names that whatever we do, they're going to find it anyway. And I started MAM Gossip to also be able to talk about other cases since I am so involved in other ones, and people get very mad when I talk about it here on Stephen Avery Project. But even if I put it in MAM Gossip, then people also will get upset. What does this have to do about Stephen? So I try to keep the bulk of other case talk on Justice with Jax. So, and you can go to all those other pages to go see old stuff we have posted, pictures that are in all of those different things. And then the Justice with Jack's YouTube channel is where you can look at all my old videos. And thank you. I have to scroll up to see who was talking about my Denise. Thank you for your words on my book. So you'll have time to finish because I would the next live I could possibly do is the very next Saturday, which is the 21st. I cannot do the 28th. What's going on with Marnie? Marnie, we have a status hearing on April 20th. And the status hearing is just to determine that the date we have set for the judge's decision is still okay with everybody and nothing is happening. So that's something that I'll just be zooming into. Only the lawyers really need to be at court for that day. And then the judge is going to rule on Marnie Yang's case on May 15th, which is a Friday. And I've taken that day off of work because I will be at court. Marnie will be at court. I have to pick up Marnie's dad and take him to court. And then I'm also the press wrangler for Marnie's legal team. So any press that comes to court for Marnie have to talk to me, and then I schedule Marnie's attorney, Jed Stone, or they will talk to Marnie's dad. Marnie's kids sometimes have talked to the press, and a lot of times they don't want to talk to the press. So I also, let them slink off and the press doesn't get them. And the judge, because we had an evidentiary hearing. So the judge will be deciding if he believes that we have presented enough new evidence. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole on the new evidence bullshit. I hate that. If we presented enough new evidence that would get Marnie a new trial. So, and that's all I'm going to say on the Marnie Yang case here. So I'm not totally upsetting people. You can go to freemarnieyang.com, her website. I run it. My husband did the bulk of the work on that website. So you can go to freemarnieyang.com. If you Google Marnie's case, everything you're going to find out there, everything says she's guilty. She's truly not. She's truly not guilty. It's another false confession. Marnie was an idiot, but I will leave it there. There's science and proof that Marnie Yang is innocent. So that is May 15th, where we'll get that judge's decision on Marnie's case. And I will update about that on my Justice with Jax. So, all right, leaving. Stay tuned for Stephen Avery Project for when we post that I will do the live, that we will start reading my book. And now I'm going to go ask my husband if he wants to go to roller derby tonight. I'm excited to go to roller derby. All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. As always, investigation continues.